this theme goes so deep. Like, this is the reason there's hundreds of nukes. So Raya is a pretty good film. Well, it's complicated. I love the theme.
Yes, the theme is great. Solid. Everyone should hear this theme.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's more than solid to me. Like, it's a deeply mythological and important to all of humanity theme. Mm-hmm. The execution, however...
Yeah, it could be better.
It could be a lot better. Like, we actually came out really positive.
My eyes were welling up with tears at the climax of the movie.
Yeah, like, the theme is...
It's moving.
It's very important. And they have all the right scenes in it to communicate the theme really powerfully. They just... I don't know if they trusted themselves or they didn't want to be vulnerable enough. I don't know. But there is enough in this film to distract you from what could happen, to take away the oomph. Because when we watched it a second time, it was just... Yeah, that was when we were like... It does the shove it down your throat thing. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the movie is about?
I mean, I think it's pretty clear it's about trust.
Yeah, but specifically?
Like,
if you could make a claim with it, what would the claim be?
I feel like it's something along the lines of know who you can trust. Not, like, that sounds really negative, but...
It does.
That's not necessarily how I mean it. Like, have discernment, I guess, about who you can trust.
Maybe. This was the conversation we started having.
Yeah.
Because I think it's more, you need to trust in order to connect or to unify.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Because, like, it shows you different situations of what it looks like when you don't trust people and when you do trust people. And in the situations in which you do trust people, trusting blindly versus, like, trusting people who you are... It's very clear that you're all working towards the same goal.
It is tricky. Because I understand what you're saying. Like, you need... Well... It is wise and responsible to have boundaries.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you only can unify and connect if you fully trust people.
Yeah, okay, so I think there's something like... have boundaries and be vulnerable.
Yeah, because, I mean, you need to have the conversation on what your common goal is in order to even trust them. Because if they have a different goal, then...
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the whole Talon leader person. She had a different goal than Sisu. Well, without further ado, let's start it. And yeah, we'll dive in more when we get there. So this actually reminds me of kind of the first issue that we were talking about, like, I get it, it's a big world that they created, so they do need to onboard us into a lot of information. But these kind of big unloading exposition things never work for me.
Yeah, I will say it's pretty rare when I connect with it.
Because, yeah, you don't care about anything yet, so you're like, okay.
I feel like Inside Out did a pretty decent job with, like, the verbal exposition leading you into the story.
I'd have to watch it again, but they did do that too. This reminds me of the beginning of Strange Magic.
I was turned to stone, came back. Except the dragons.
Which they don't explain.
Well...
She tries to, but...
They don't explain it, but my theory about that is that... Like, the reason that the Droon exist was because of human discord.
Right. Which I like that. That's dope.
Yeah. So... when the dragons came in and saved, or Sisu came in and, like, finished the job and saved everybody, that humans were not united yet.
Right. There was still discord.
There was still discord. So I think
that is what Raya says later.
Chief Benja. Like, I know it's your job to try and stop me, but...
This whole thing.
Yeah, this does feel like it's just for the audience.
Yeah.
And it's either father or Ba to you.
What?
Really? Tell me what you know about the other lands.
First...
Exposition.
More of it.
This is actually a classic example of bad exposition, because neither of the characters need to hear this information.
They both already know it.
Yeah. I see what they're trying to do. Like, the dad's trying to be like, what do you know about them? Because you probably have misconceptions. Mm-hmm. So I see it, but when you cut to something like this, it's like, okay, this is for me now.
I do agree with Griffin that the whole movie should have been done in this.
I disagree.
What? Really?
I do. It looks like bad CG to cell animation. It's a big TV thing. Not to say they wouldn't have done it well. It could have been interesting. I just have PTSD with that kind of animation.
If we don't stop and learn to trust one another again, it's only a matter of time before we tear each other apart. This isn't the world I want you to live in. I believe that we can be Kumandra again, but someone has to take the first step. Trust me.
I just wanted to quickly point out that this is the movie stating the entire premise of the film. Now we know what the whole movie is going to be about, what Raya is going to learn, what we're supposed to learn. It's great.
We should take a count as to how many times the word trust is mentioned in this movie.
Things look a little tense, Bob.
Don't worry. I'm gonna open with a joke.
He might be my favorite character.
Yeah, I might be a little bit of a dragon nerd.
Hey, I'm the one wearing the Sisu fan necklace.
Small thing, but it's like that kind of dialogue that's frustrating because...
Dragon nerd?
Well, dragon nerd, but then, like, say, the fan necklace. Like, I get what they're saying, and it kind of works, but then my brain starts going, like, so is there, like, a culture of that? And later she calls her, like, Princess Undercut. Mm-hmm. So, like, knowing what that hairstyle is called, when you don't have the internet or, like, any way to communicate, like, how do they have common culture? It requires mass communication. It makes sense for within... Like,
it would depend, I guess, on if
there to be a fandom. But for them to have that same idea in a competing enemy land, it takes me out of the story.
But what about, so like, French Vietnamese is a thing. And that's because when France invaded Vietnam. But that was like still an influence of French culture in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And it has carried out into like today.
It only happened because they invaded. When they were enemies and there was walls up.
But they were together at one point.
Fair enough. How long ago was that?
500 years. That doesn't mean... So if you know, obviously things have developed since 500 years ago, but that doesn't mean that there aren't things that haven't been carried down. So maybe the undercut was that one of those things. I'm just saying. I still don't like it.
The issue to me is not necessarily that they both know the same thing. It's that they assume the other knows the same thing. Because they were like, oh, you know, like, how'd you know it was called an undercut? It was like, we were from the same place. Oh, weird. Yeah. But for me to assume that your culture has the same values and style and understanding of fashion and all that stuff, it takes me out of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because even if you go to a different part of the United States, like, the culture is different.
Yes. Yes. You got Midwest boys wearing hoodies and shorts.
And you got Floridians wearing flip-flops and...
Nothing else.
Just flip-flops.
Just... and cigars.
From one dragon nerd to another.
Yeah, you would need nerd culture for that, all of that language to make sense.
We have a choice. We can tear each other apart, or we can come together and build a better world. I still believe we can be Kumandra again.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's an emphasis on, like, common goal.
Mm-hmm. Which is dope.
They're repelled by water.
That'll be useful later. They had to tell us that. We couldn't just see it.
Stand up!
I do want to say, while this is on my mind, I was thinking more about the position that the stone figures are in. Because pretty much everything that we've seen so far in the movie is everyone holding things really tightly and, like, trying to keep them to themselves. Versus, like, in order to trust, or, work on something with someone else. You do kind of have to hold things with an open hand. And I really liked that image. I don't know if I like the fact that
it's caused by the Druun.
Yeah.
The discord causes trust.
Or I guess the remedy for that is trust.
Okay. It's true, because it's not, like, the Druun isn't necessarily talked about in terms of it's an actual creature.
Right.
It's talked about in a more metaphysical, like, the manifestation of human discord, which creates death and stone in the world, which is interesting. So yeah, then I guess from that perspective, it does make sense how, like, the only thing left would be, like, showing what the solution is. Tale 6 years. So it went. Can you see how the time there?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
So the movie doesn't start until 20 minutes in. That's a 20-minute long prologue. That's too much. I'm just gonna go out and say it. That's too much. That was cool. I mean, it's sad, but.
I'm curious about, like, when they choose to show themselves.
If there's any meaning to it.
Yeah. Because later, Captain Boone says, like, during the day you can almost forget that they don't exist. But I guess, like, there's a significance to nighttime and the Druun, seemingly.
It'd also be interesting to pay attention to the symbol of water.
She just used that symbol.
Hello?
To save the world. If we can get all the other gem pieces, you can...
Suddenly we know what we're doing. Wait, what's the timestamp? So it's been 8 minutes since the movie actually started to knowing what's going to happen. Is that a pretty average time frame, you think?
Yeah. I would say her coming back is the inciting incident, which...
So why do you think it feels fast? Because we both agree that...
Well, it's just because of how much information. I don't think it's fast time-wise. I think it's fast in how much information they've set up. And then the fact that they both put it together, it doesn't necessarily make sense to us as the audience. We kind of have to trust them on their words. Just like, yeah, you're connected to your sister's magic. So that means if we get all of them, something good will happen.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah. That's why, it's them putting together a lot of mental math that we don't understand. That's why it feels fast. So, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. So that is the inciting incident. Well, her bringing back the dragon is the inciting incident, Sisu. Does that doesn't have anything to do with trust.
No.
Okay. Moving on.
So far, the only purpose of that ring has been this moment.
What they should have done. Okay, so you set up, once upon a time, there's a girl who has trust issues because she put a lot of trust into a friend who stabbed her in the back. Set up for the character. So they should have made her immediately skeptical of Sisu. Because now she has to trust Sisu in order to...
But also, though, they set up that she has been looking for Sisu for the last 6 years.
Yeah, and Sisu is a dragon who is the embodiment of life and water and good. Because they don't start doing the actual, like, tenets of the theme until, like, each character we meet in each separate region. It's like, now we have to trust this guy, now we have to trust them. I think if there was some way they could have started off with Sisu, it could have been nice. Not necessary, it would have been nice. Just thought. I don't know. I didn't write it. Maybe they tried that. It was a bad idea.
Okay, so here's the sitch.
Here's the sitch.
Spine, talon, and tail.
Collect them all. Those do look like board game or like trading card game poses.
I'm sorry, a gift?
Yeah, a gift says, you can trust me. Can I trust you?
Trust.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3.
Does a gift say that?
No. Because...
We don't
Wait, no, the story even tells you that it doesn't say that.
Okay.
Because Namari gives Raya her necklace. And then stabs her in the back.
That's true. We also, in our culture, we don't have a context to which you give gifts as like a meeting.
Yeah, in American culture.
Yeah. I don't know what historically it is. I guess the issue I have with it is the gifts are superficial. If I can earn your trust with a gift, of course I'm just going to give you a gift so I can stab you in the back. Duh.
I wonder if it's more like a peace offering. Like, you're...
I mean, yeah, it's like about the
especially
gesture.
if it is, like, held with this motion of, like, this is a vulnerable position. You can see my hands. I'm giving you this gift.
Okay.
There might be something to it.
The thing I guess I'm trying to get at is because of this movie, should we start giving gifts to people? Because my skepticism is that, like, it's not a good way to communicate anything because, like...
I would say it might depend on the culture.
I just want to know transactionally, is it a good idea? Because someone gives me a gift, I'm not immediately going to trust them. Especially if it's obligatory.
Yeah.
Then it's just us going through these weird motions and, like, it's not actually communicating anything. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical of gifts.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Was that supposed to be a trust jump exercise?
I was just thinking that.
It wasn't very well executed.
No, it wasn't. It was more like miscommunication rather than mistrust, if that's what they were going for.
And here I thought it was because you missed me.
What are you, 12?
Yeah. What do cats and drone have in common?
No salt!
And they both hate water.
So, like, all of that kind of banter, like, there's no feeling of stakes from the characters because they have unordinary confidence and gotta get my quip in.
Wow, you really got some trust issues.
Look, my father blindly trusted people, and now he's doomed.
Stuff like this is kind of crazy. Like, how can you live in open discord when you have, like, the evidence of the gods that you can walk through?
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of cognitive dissonance.
Yeah. It's a lot of distrust. And making sure that you and your kind are good and taken care of. But yeah, it's not unifying over anything.
And now that it's night, all, like, the Droon are, like, abundant.
Maybe there's more fear and distrust at the nights.
But I might be heading there too.
It's so cute.
Even the way he says it. I might be hitting there too.
We don't know you. You have no credit here.
This is genius. And this is my whole point with the whole, like, cross-cultural, like, there's not mass communication. So there's not cross-cultural culture. They don't know her, so they can't trust her. They don't, like, there is no unifying credit system. Same with nerd culture.
But I trusted you. Big mistake.
I think the purpose of that is just to show that, like, it makes sense why you wouldn't trust someone. But its ultimate argument is you need to. So in the crux of the movie, when Sisu is moving forward, trusting Namari that she won't shoot her, like, that needs to happen. She needs to be at risk of getting shot in order to find unity and common goal. So in that instance too, she needs to be opened up to be stabbed in the back or lied to in order to live in a world where there is trust.
I mean, that's vulnerability.
Right. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Get someone's trust, you have to give a little trust first.
Have you been counting?
No, I've lost count.
It's like delectable nectar feeding the tum-tum of my soul.
The tum-tum of my soul.
I am sincerely asking you.
She has to trust him.
Mm-hmm. And he has to trust her.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the only one who lost family to the drone. Please.
Common goal.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my plan. We infiltrate Fang and offer her something nice and go, hey, wanna help us save the world? Yes! I've been waiting for someone to ask me. Here you go.
My favorite part about that was in the theater when we watched it, a little girl a few down from me who was like, like, that'll work. So I liked that. Well, one, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
About humanity, and that's our gut reaction. But two, that's what this movie's about. Is showing that little girl that that's actually what you need. Mm. It's cool. I like stories.
If we're just honest with her, deep down, I got a feeling she wants to fix the world as much as we do.
It's an interesting idea. And again, something like I believe in a lot, and I think is really important for all of humans, for us to understand. Deep down, we really want, like, we all want unity. Mm-hmm. It's only on top of that we have this self-preserving kind of... Because, like, we want to survive, but, like, the ideal is we all survive in a world where we're all, like, going towards a common goal and really excited about it and wake up and like, I'm so stoked to live today. Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to walk down the street and be afraid of, like, who they're going to interact with.
Exactly. But because of fear and dishonesty, we accept... We settle. We settle for, well, at least I'm living. Mm. At least I wake up and I breathe. It's not the ideal world, but I'd rather breathe than, like, try to advocate for the ideal world. Mm-hmm. And just live it. Just live it fully trusting and honest with ourselves and relationship. This is obviously bloody hard.
Oh, yeah.
Small thing about trusting the audience, but, like, even showing heart again, you're not trusting that the audience remembers that.
Yeah.
Or even cares about your world.
This is where we make our last stand.
United. Mm-hmm. And they solve the problem by essentially doing exactly what they do in the end. They just trust and sacrifice.
As I trusted them.
And allow themselves to be utterly vulnerable.
And so...
I don't like how they end that dialogue with, and so...
They do that a lot in this film. It's kind of, we don't know how to finish the line.
You wouldn't just bring your Ba back. You'd also bring back his dream, Kumandra.
Not only his dream, but, like, literally the best, most ideal paradise life for literally everyone. Just saying. Could be pretty good.
It may feel impossible, but sometimes you just have to take the first step. Trust me.
Trust her. Trust. Which is true.
I think that's what the gift is supposed to be.
What gift?
The first step. Like giving a gift to the chief.
Oh, I see. The idea of the gift.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly. You can bring everyone back, and that's what scares me.
When everyone
Fear.
Comes back, who do you think they'll come for?
Filling my eyeball with the joytastic image.
Joytastic cheeks.
Time to bring everyone back.
Sisu and the gem pieces are coming with me.
It was foolish to trust someone from Fat.
Namari, it doesn't have to be like this.
I don't have any other choice.
I know you don't want to hurt anybody. You just want a better world. Like we all do. I trust you, Namari.
Okay, so what's dope about this scene is because it's, like, hyper needed for the theme that they're trying to say. If you're trying to say that you need to be vulnerable and trust to be unified, you need to show that what usually happens in humans is that we don't fully trust people. It's like both me and you coming to an agreement of vulnerability, and then both of us having a knife behind our back just in case, because you might betray us, you might whatever. It's like, to do full unity, you have to do what the end of the scene is, where it's like there is no backup plan.
Yeah, you have to be willing to be
My heart's
to
on
get
the line.
hurt.
Yeah, yes. And at least for me, the thing that's so dope about this is because, like, this theme goes so deep. Like, this is the reason there's hundreds of nukes in the world that we all just kind of put in that part of our brain where, like, everything's fine. The world could blow up in a second, but it could. And it's because it's like, well, if you have nukes, then we need nukes. And we can't, like, I can't get rid of our nukes because what if you don't? Like, you just need to trust, and that's how we get to live in a great world. Not a kind of worse tiptoeing on glass world. So yes, that's dope. This scene, I think, does a pretty good job of showing that. There's... Good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it does a pretty good job. I think that there's like a little bit about it that makes it a little confusing. Like, you see Namaari starting to pull the trigger, but you can also tell that she's weighing a lot in her mind. Like, you can see that in her facial expressions, like her body language is like
she truly wants unity, and she wants to trust Sisu.
But she's afraid.
Yeah.
And so she's acting out of fear. And then we see Raya also really wanting unity, like for her even being willing to consider Sisu's idea and and show up and like try to trust Namaari, but she's also afraid.
Yes.
And
everybody's afraid.
Everybody is afraid.
Even like Namaari's mom was saying, like, well, if everybody turns away from Stone, what scares me is like they're all going to blame us. So it's like then there won't be unity again, and we'll have the short end of the stick. Everybody's afraid of getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they're not trusting that
everybody wants win-wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what could have made this better is if they showed Namaari releasing the trigger rather than pulling it.
Yeah.
Because you can tell, like, if you're just kind of glazing over the movie, it does look like it's Namaari's fault to a degree.
Yeah.
Like, you could say, well, she was starting to pull the trigger, which is true, but she isn't the reason that the crossbow fired.
Yeah. You could also say, like, she brought it, like, she was the one who was trying to betray them in the first place, but she was betraying them out of fear, which is the same reason why Raya didn't want Sisu to show up initially, why Raya even has a sword with her.
I think it would have been a little more clear had we seen more evidence of Namaari changing her mind, even though she showed up as a response to fear, and then Raya also acting out of a response to fear.
Yeah.
I think it would have really shown the nuance of that situation, because that's real life. Like, that amount of nuance is real life. Like, when you're in relationship with someone, or you're learning how to trust them, it is like human to be afraid and to be weighing all of the consequences in your mind of what it means to actually trust somebody else.
Right.
People respond in real life out of fear, and it causes a lot of problems. And
Yes, it does.
I wish that they would have done that a little bit better in this scene, because I can see where they were going with it.
Yeah. The least clear part, specifically in, like, later when Namaari is like, this is as much your fault as it is mine. Which I was fine with. I liked that line. But I think where we've seen various individuals, like, say that line specifically tripped them up. Like our niece, for instance, when we watched it. It's not bad that Namaari says it. I'll say that. Because I think the reason they have her say it is because Raya doesn't initially see it. Like, the way Namaari says it, I guess specifically is what I'm trying to get at, is like, she could have said it like, yeah, I shot her. I brought the crossbow. But I wasn't planning on shooting her. It was an accident because you came out. So it's like, this is as much you as me. Like, accepting a lot of the guilt, but I think how she says it, like, this is as much you as it is me. Even though there is an admittance to her fault, it does feel like this kind of, like, pushing the blame on Raya again.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to go down alone sort of thing.
Yes. I think it's important that they're sharing the guilt. That's an important story point that
Yeah, I agree.
needs to be done for the theme.
Yeah, because if they had both trusted, they wouldn't be in that situation.
Yes.
And I think that's the point that it's trying to make.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need that scene. You just need that scene.
Yeah, you need to show them both not actually trusting.
Slightly frustrating with how, like, the execution of this film has not been, like, 2 out of 2 blowing my mind through the clouds, because they had the right scenes, they had the right ideas, they knew what their movie was about. They just undercut
they
it.
say it 35 times.
They undercut it because they don't trust the audience enough to, like, see action, and then also they aren't vulnerable enough with their characters. Their characters kind of make a joke of the stakes in the story that they're playing out.
Mm-hmm.
See, so she's blaming...
Yeah, that
Namari
whole, all of that body language was, this is Namari's fault.
Yeah. Which I think is fine.
Because you do feel like that.
Hmm?
Like, when you're in that sort of situation with someone...
You're not going to see your own
No,
point. Yeah.
not right away.
Yeah. Especially with a situation as complex as just happened.
Mm-hmm.
All these people are chewing food if we don't get them out.
Look at these people being vulnerable and selfless. Trust me. I think this is a cool idea. I like the side characters. Like,
They're
they're
all
not
trusting
even,
each other.
but they're,
And
see,
working
they
together.
did that right though. They're just doing it. They're just living out the theme. They're not talking about it.
Yeah.
I never meant for any of this to happen. I don't care if you believe me. Sisu did. But you didn't trust her. Do whatever you want. But you're as much to blame for Sisu's death as I am.
I still think it works.
I do too. Especially because she just pointed out that Raya didn't trust Sisu.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one who slayed Sisu.
And that was a really good way that they're about to set up how all of the side characters also have to trust. Because while they trust each other
Right.
now, and they've built relationships and they're working towards a common goal together, they now, like, they haven't quite integrated Namari into that yet.
Yeah, she's still an enemy to them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Two-dimensionalizing her.
Yeah.
Is I trusted them, and they trusted me. And so...
Why did they leave the "and so" in there?
Okay, they show that flashback, which already hyper highlights the point.
Yeah.
And then now Raya has this big speech also highlighting the point. And then they actually do it. She should have just saw the dragon trinket and then said, "Here you go, Namari." And then became stone. Oh, that would have been so beautiful.
Oh man, tears everywhere.
Ah, they dropped the ball there. That sucks.
It's not about her magic, it's about trust. What? Is that what?
The what she's done?
We'll never trust her.
Really laying it on thick. But this is beautiful. This is truly beautiful.
You could look at that as being the gift that Raya gives Namari.
You're really just, you want this gift thing to work
I'm
out.
just trying to understand it.
I mean, it is obviously an idea that is continually brought up.
And maybe the rest of them aren't like that because, and they're all touching her because they're like joining Raya in.
All right. I'll buy your justification. Do it, Namari. This is probably the most beautiful part. Like, it's one thing to give it to something, but to, like, fully trust in something that, like, it's gonna work out, but I'm not 100% on it.
Yeah,
But
Namari has no idea if it's gonna work at
Yeah,
this point.
it's either save the world or bust at this point. That's insane and amazing and beautiful. That's a beautiful moment. I love laughing after insane things happen. It's kind of all you can do.
Yeah.
It's like laugh crying.
Yeah.
It's very relatable.
It's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that the big, like battle scene where everything's falling apart happens on Fang.
Okay.
Like it's almost like they're showing that like self-preservation way of thinking. You have to destroy that in order to trust.
Yeah, like you have to live without walls, kind of idea. They don't really explain why she comes back, but she has to come back.
Like, do they all know that she was dead? And that, like, how they just woke up.
I was just speaking mythologically, like the one who sacrifices for the trust dies and rises again.
It's good to breathe in your glorious dragon stench again.
What is that character?
Welcome to Kumandra.
So there you go. I like it so much I want it to be better.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it. A lot of me is really excited about it because they knew what movie they were making. Mm-hmm. They had something to say and they were trying to say it. It wasn't like, we just need a movie just because we need to make money. What do people like? Buddy cop movie or whatever. You know? The goal was from
this is important.
Yeah, a theme out perspective. And we need to find a story to articulate this. Mm-hmm. And that's how everything should be written. So that's really important to me. I don't know if it's because like it's made by committee. I'd have to look into who wrote this, but I know with Disney films, like you can't really point it to one writer. A lot of people are involved in the writing process, which may be part of the problem. I don't know. It's just the execution got lost in translation, specifically with the three-dimensionalism of the characters. Maybe the best way to put it. Mm-hmm. They didn't feel like real enough characters who actually believed in the story that was like the actual in-world things that was happening to them. So it made me not connect as much to that.
Except for Chief Benja. He was the only character who believed enough to be that vulnerable.
Yeah. Which is probably why he's one of my favorite characters, even though he's like in 2 seconds of the film. Yeah. So that wraps up all of our thoughts on Raya. Please tell us what you guys thought about it. Themes like this deserve to be continually talked about and discussed and pulled apart and hopefully reimagined into better films. So yeah, engage in conversation in the comments, on our Discord. It's a meaty film. If you think that this kind of content is important, please support us on Patreon. And lastly, thank you guys for your patience with this video in particular. Kaeli and I have been really busy helping out finish up a really big project that we can't talk much about, but it's been busy. If you guys have any movies you want us to watch, please let us know. We'll check it out, we'll watch it, we'll tear it apart, or whatever. Compliment it. We'll give it some compliments. Alright. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all later. This video was produced by Frozen Was Actually Genius, Connor Fitzer, Matt Laskowski, Rockfax, Clownhound, C.S. Lewis, David M., Rachel Steven, Miley Greenwell, Richard Roberts, Pickle Princess, Kyle M. Martin, and Amelia Allure. Thanks, guys.